This is my first citizenship ceremony, and it is a real pleasure to be with you. I think I speak for a number of my colleagues in the Assembly, in the Legislative Assembly, when I say how enriching, frankly, this experience is. Mr. Justice, may I say to you, thank you for the excellent job of presiding today and for your remarks. Although I hesitate to point out you made a glaring omission in your primer on the Canadian Constitution. You failed to tell these new citizens that the weather in our country is the responsibility of the federal government. You know, our very first Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald, took a tour of the country, of this nascent part of Canada, before the provinces out west here were formed. It was 1886, and he stopped here in Regina, just over by the train station, not far from where we are, and the Regina Leader reports that he was asked by a citizen as to what he thought of our prospects here. The person wanted to know, what did the Prime Minister of Canada think would happen here in Regina and in Saskatchewan? And the Prime Minister said this to the gentleman. He said, if you had a little more wood and a little more water and a hill here or there, your prospects would be improved. Interesting answer from the first Prime Minister. Of course, he could not have known about what lay beneath Saskatchewan in terms of our great natural resources, and he was, to be fair, answering the question in the economic parameters at the time, and those parameters change over the decades and have. And today, like all days that have been before in the life of this country, all the way back to Macdonald's days, there will be reports in the media about our economy. There might be reports about our natural resources here in Saskatchewan. There might be reports about our currency, whether it is up or down. But on occasions such as this, amidst those daily reports, we are reminded that these things are so temporary. They are temporal reports, quickly changing, and soon forgotten. On behalf of all of my legislative colleagues and all of our guests here today, I just want to thank you, my new fellow citizens of Canada, for reminding us that our greatest resource has ever been our people. And our great currency won't be found at the Royal Canadian Mint. Our great currency is freedom and liberty, and the attendant responsibility that goes with that freedom, and also the other wonderful thing that comes with that freedom, opportunity, the chance to improve our station, to change our stars. And today I also want to thank you for giving the rest of us the chance to view this country through the eyes of our own grandparents and great-grandparents, those who came and pioneered this land, those who came before us. And I want you to know, new citizens, that your story is also our story. Your story, for every one of us, except for those of us that are First Nation, is truly our story because we are all immigrants. 140 years ago, long before Saskatchewan was a province, my great-great-grandparents, Franz and Justina Wall, were living in southern Ukraine. They were German Mennonites and they farmed, but they wanted something a little bit better. I think they wanted to own a little bit more of their own land. They wanted freedom that they didn't think they had to the degree they wanted it. They wanted to be assured of the freedom of religion, to worship in their own way. And so, long ago, they uprooted and came here. In 1875, they came first to Quebec City and then moved to Manitoba, where they lived for a while, and then where my great-grandfather, also named Franz, moved in 1909, understanding even in those early years that Saskatchewan was much better than Manitoba. Moving from Morden, Manitoba to a place very near Swift Current, where our family has been ever since. I can't imagine what those days must have been like. Learning a brand new language, learning a brand new culture, establishing a farm, literally carving it out of dirt and rock in southwest Saskatchewan. Raising their family, putting up with some of the winter temperatures and the winter conditions. But they persevered. And they raised children. They raised farmers and preachers and entrepreneurs. My grandfather was each of those things, actually. And imagine this, that today the great-great-grandson of Franz and Justina Wall gets to stand here before you today. I get to work in this particular building and participate in a way that I don't think they would have ever dreamed that one of their followers would be able to participate. And there will come a time, as has been noted, I think, by Mr. McKiskey, if it's not come already, frankly, that you will lead, that your family members will lead in our province. This will happen, I'm sure of it, because if there's one thing we know in Saskatchewan from recent years, it's this: the newcomers who have come here by the tens of thousands to settle in 330 Saskatchewan communities, large and small. Those newcomers, you have made this province better. You've made this country better. We are stronger that you are here. We are enriched that you are here. We have benefited from your work, from the businesses that you start, from your language and your culture that we ask you to share with us. And perhaps most importantly of all, we benefit from your perspective that sometimes we lose touch with here, living and being born and raised here in Canada and in Saskatchewan. My colleague, Jim Ryder, is the Minister of Government Relations and an MLA in the House. He tells a story that reminds us of perspective. He was taking a cab ride here in Regina with an individual on a particularly cold winter day, and they got to chatting about the weather, did Jim and the driver. And the cab driver told him very simply, "This is paradise," he said. So Jim said, "Really? Do you like the cold weather?" He said, "No, I'm from Africa. I hate the cold weather." But where I was before, there was no assurance of my next meal. There wasn't an assurance of any kind of security in my life for me or my family. And now I have a job and these issues are taken care of. He said, "This is paradise." Ladies and gentlemen, this is the great gift that you've given us this morning. The chance to have another look at our province and our country through your eyes, to see a province that is blessed by providence, favored by fortune, graced by amazing people, a place that's confidently moving forward with energy and momentum, a place that is now the living embodiment of its original motto in Latin, which is multis e gentibus vires, from many people's strength. In 1909, when my great-grandfather moved to Saskatchewan, I think he believed that this province and this country was in the hope business, was in the opportunity business. And it still is today. You are the proof of that. So belatedly, may I just say, welcome to Saskatchewan. Welcome to Canada, where our greatest resource is our people, and our great currency is our freedom. Good morning.